I'm going to start by asking how you are doing.
How I'm doing?
Yeah, how are you doing, Jessa?
I am doing much better than I was last week. Last week was really rough. The beginning of this week was really rough also, but I think I'm doing a lot better. I feel the sunshine coming through.
Yes. You're feeling like, because you did a whole plant analogy the last time we talked about it. You're like, my plants are doing bad, I'm doing bad. So you're feeling the sun. I'm sure your plants are feeling the sun.
They are, and they are very, very happy, and so am I.
Good. Okay.
Yes. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I've had it's been a very like up and down week. Like there's been some really bad stuff, not like bad, but like hard. And then also some really like good stuff. So I'll probably have whiplash by Saturday. So I'll probably have to do nothing on Saturday.
Yeah. The first few days of this week were like that. It was just a lot of like trying to process and figure out
for sure
where I'm supposed to be emotionally. So I totally understand that. Yeah.
And so my story this week is, I'm trying to figure out which, I'll go with one this episode, and then you'll have to tune in for next episode to hear the other story. This episode, we're going to start with the goodness on this episode. Okay. I sat down with Hoodzpah Design yesterday. It was Tuesday. It was so much fun. Like I was really worried that they were going to be like a certain way, because I don't know, I think it's because I come from a world where you hang out with designers or hang out with engineers, and they're all like self-conscious, they're not really social, you just have a hard time getting through. So like I sat down with them and it was just like old friends kind of situation. Like it was really freaking fun. We talked about like where we've lived, like we had like a whole 20-minute conversation on where we lived around the country, like what's going on with them. And then we kind of got into talking like shop. We talked about like where they were at when they first started. So to really like get into it, they also were kind of in the same situation I was, where they kind of, they were working for like a couponing company that did like design work for like coupons or whatever. And they were also not formally trained in design, but they said they learned a lot from that first job of like how to really do the basics of design. And that company went under. So they had no knowledge, they had no official knowledge, and they had really no network to kind of reach back to. So they just decided to go off on their own and do the same thing that I kind of did. And they've been doing it for, I think they started in 2011. So, they've been working with like brands like Disney, the Lakers, like big names.
I saw the Godmother.
Like big
I was like
stuff.
Looking at their logos, and they had the Godmother thing a couple times. And I was like, did they work with Disney?
Like big stuff. So
wait, did they work with Disney? Because that's really cool.
So we just kind of sat down and talked about like, well, what did you guys do when you first got out? And they gave me some insight, and then we talked about like what I'm doing. And the most crazy part of it is they were like, you're doing everything that we were doing. Like it was the most validating thing to hear people say, you're doing great. And then to like kick this off, they're like, your work is solid, you're doing killer work. And I'm just like, me? You're talking about me?
You're freaking ridiculous.
What I struggle so much with this.
I know.
Because it's not supposed to be what I was supposed to be doing. Like, and that's the problem. So I left that meeting, I was like, yeah. I know. I was like, yeah, I'm the man. Yeah, and then I had to change a poopy diaper, and then of course I'm back to reality.
And then go back to being absolutely.
So they were awesome. They were amazing. I'm just speechless, like at the amount of insight they gave me because most people, like we talk about there's a lot of designers out here trying to sell to other designers who make it about the money first. And they were just trying to lend a helping hand, which I don't really feel like I run into a lot. So it was just great to see those type of people in the world. And I'm happy to call them friends, and like hopefully like we can do some work in the future, or if I ever need anything, I can reach out to them. They said if I have any if I need any help on like any design stuff, to shoot it their way, and they'll give input. And I'm just like, those are the type of connections you need. Like,
yes, that is exactly what you need. It really does. I feel like I feel like the one thing that creatives miss out on whenever we start our businesses is we think that we are in it by ourselves.
Yes.
And we're like, don't show anybody this, don't show anybody that, or, keep it on the down low until it's good and ready to go.
Sure.
And then you realize how lonely it gets. Just like
It's
being
so
a business
cold.
owner, like we literally, I talk to my toddler, most of the day. So when you're working from home and you're by yourself all the time, you don't really have that inspiration, especially being in quarantine. Like, I think that's one of the things that kind of made it harder, but also the toxic environment type of deal that we were talking about. We talked about that in one of our last episodes that we recorded, but how when I started in photography, it was a very toxic environment. It was just very like, no, I'm not going to tell you where my shooting spots are. No, I'm not going to, tell you how I edited this. And no, I'm not going to do all these things because, if I give you this information, then you're going to be my competition.
For sure.
The one thing that I have noticed in the last few years that I've been putting community before competition first. Man, my business has grown exponentially because of it.
100%.
My brain, like my soul, like my art has grown exponentially because of it. And it's because you get to talk to these people and you get to go through these different things together. And instead of, because now, like, if I have a problem and I know that there's a photographer out there that is, doing all this really cool stuff, I can go to them and say, hey, girl, I'm having a really hard time. What do you do when you do this? And she's like, oh my gosh, this is what I do,
Exactly.
So instead of us all sitting here, staring at a computer all day long and getting lonely and just being, grumpy, you reach out to other designers and photographers and creatives. And it is like, you are creating growth just for your business alone, just by reaching out.
Building it in. You're like building in that goodness that will keep you going. It'll keep you energized. So it doesn't have to be cold. You can always reach out to, and in my experience, I've reached out to a lot of people just shooting a DM and expecting not to hear anything back. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten a lot of replies and a lot of good things coming from it. And it's just, you got to get past that fear and that thinking that you have to be alone. You don't have to be alone.
No, you don't. And not everybody's going to be mean either. Like that's the one thing. Hi, Alicia. That's the one thing that, I think we're also afraid, like what you said, we're also afraid of, being around other designers and being judged, or being around other creatives and, them not like giving us that.
Being receptive.
Being receptive. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's okay. You work around it. Those are not the people for you. We've already said that. If that's how they are, then that's fine. Whatever.
They can go do their thing. Yeah.
They can go do their thing, but there's going to be hundreds of other people that are, and you'd be very proud of me. I did reach out to a photographer yesterday. I was very excited because I saw one of her branding clients posted this, glowing review about her onboarding process and everything. And I was like, that's the one thing that I'm struggling with right now, is trying to figure out how to make my onboarding process with my clients a lot easier for them, especially going into branding, because it gets a lot more complicated than just a normal photo shoot. A family session, I can say, hey, these are all the different things that I want to do. And then we're going to go and do the family session, or, these are the things that they want. And then it's fun. Like, we just have fun. But with a branding session, you want it to represent the business, and you like having conversations with them without overwhelming them is so key, So we have
to pull all that through. Like, it's like a symphony almost. Like,
yes, it really is. Because if you overwhelm them and you give them too much stuff, then they're like, Emma's here. I love you. Yeah. So, and that's the thing I noticed I was doing was I was like, I don't want them to think that I don't have value. So I was like shoving everything into one email. And thankfully, one of my really great friends, Lisa, was like, hey, this is a lot. Like,
good.
Like,
that's great. That's the insight you need. Yeah.
You're right. It is a lot. It is a lot. So, but being able to reach out to people like that, like I saw her glowing review, I contacted the photographer and I was like, hey, I would really love if we could talk about this. I was like, I'll even pay you for your time. Like, at this point, I want to be able to discuss it with somebody and figure out what I need to fix in order to help my clients. So I pulled a camera.
Hey,
and
it's only going to take you up. I'm telling you. So I feel like there's a lot of designers I know who aren't like that. And they started years like before me. And I feel like the one thing that sets me apart is I'll say one is reading books. I feel like books have been like huge for me. Studying the art have been huge for me. And then reaching out to other designers who are already doing it. Those are like the three. If anybody wants to start anything, those are the three major keys. Like, I swear.
Yes, absolutely. Like I've even just in the few months that we've known each other and literally started this podcast. Well, I guess it's been a couple of years, but technically getting to know each other in the last few months. But I remember seeing your work from when I first met you to now, and it just like, it blows me away. Like, I mean, I'm
I appreciate that,
because I'm like, you will send something and I'm like, how? Like, that looks like something that's on, you know, a TV screen or in a movie, or like it pops up and it's just so freaking cool. Like, Kam, you are Pro-Fesh-In-NAL, okay?
I'm blushing, guys. Blushing.
I know, we can all see. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, seriously,
I appreciate
you really are kicking butt. It's great.
Sometimes it's, I guess it's just, again, it's we talk about imposter syndrome all the time. It's like, you don't see people doing that. So then you don't put your work with the fact that it can be good. It can be great. Yeah. But I feel like as I'm doing the work, like we always say, there's some, you have to do the therapy work also in being a part of business, being a creative, you have to get in there and get kind of that old stuff out and heal. Yeah. So I feel like I'm going through that at the same time, but also like building connections are always great. Like, if you think of anybody who has made it, or in your mind made it, is they haven't made it on their own. None of them. No. Like, even the ones who are just like, they own a family business or then is doing well, their wife, their kids, someone's in there is adding value to their lives, aunts, uncles, cousins. Like, it's not just you by yourself ever. So if you ever feel inclined, like you need a boost, you need to pick me up, reach out to someone who is doing it similar, reach out to someone who's not doing it similar, reach out to anybody. I'm telling you, it'll change your life. So
even reach out to us. Like,
yeah, for sure. We'll definitely talk with you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like the one thing that Wisdom by Design has really done for me. And I know for other creatives is whenever they listen to it, they feel like that, you know, whatever internal thing they're dealing with, this is an outlet for them. This is a way for them to talk it through and like listen to other people dealing and struggling with it. So I think that I hope and I pray that we're building that type of community for everybody. Because seriously, like, being able to work with other creatives and build that community and have that support system has just flung my business into hyperdrive. And now I'm dealing with the problem of I have too much work. How do I manage this? Like, I'm, you know, it's the dial is moving. So, and then the community comes back in. Okay, now I have all this work. How do I sit down and work through it and make sure that my systems are functioning for me? That's, you know, so
for sure. That's where we're at. So who do we have with us right now, Jessa?
We have Alicia, we have Emma.
That's so cool.
I love Emma. Emma's
so guys, today on today's episode, we went live before, so that we can kind of hang out with you guys while we film
right now. So.
A couple episodes. We'll probably only be on here for maybe like 5 more minutes. Just so you guys can see how we kind of kick off an episode, how we get started. But this is we're going into episode 10. This is episode 10. Which is actually kind of cool because it's episode 10 and we're going to talk about last year. So
yes, we are. Kenzie, hi. Oh my gosh.
So do you want to say the beginning or do you want to not?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, let's kick it. Let's kick it off.
And we want to know what you guys think of our intro. Like, if you love it, tell us. If you don't like it, tell us. We want to know. So, what is up, dropouts? Well, yeah. Okay. All right. We'll try that again. See, this is literally what happens on shoot day. I'm like, no. Okay. And scene.
Every time.
Okay. Scene. What is up, dropouts? Welcome home. We are a podcast for the creative looking to enrich their life with knowledge. We won't be giving you 3 ways to get rich quick. We are for the college avoider, the corporate dropout, the person burning the midnight oil on their next big project. We are here to talk with you, offer up the processes that work for us in our business, and be real about the ones that don't. This may be your new fave podcast.
So salacious.
So salacious. I love that word. Wow. Great
Isn't
word.
it great?
That was a great word. Well, what's up, guys? This is episode 10 of Wisdom by Design, and we are here to recap the dumpster fire that is 2020.
I'd say the diamond in the rough. I feel like it was a diamond in the rough.
I feel like, you know what?
Yeah.
Okay, 2020 gets a lot of shit. Okay, it really does, because it was kind of like an explosion in front of all of our faces. It was the popcorn bag that wouldn't stop burning. Okay.
Yes, that's great.
It just, you know, let's just drop it. Our hands are hot. We're done.
Yeah, it's the worst smell. That's probably the worst smell.
The worst. 2020 had the worst smell, but you know what? There were still some kernels that were still good to eat. Okay.
You pick around it.
Pick around. This is a great analogy. Anyway.
It is. And we'll bleed it dry. Like, that's a weird one. That's a weird analogy. That was a little aggressive.
Listen.
What is it? Milk it dry? Well, milk it dry. That's
milk it dry. Is that? I can't. Okay. So what I feel like 2020 does get a bad rap because, you know, obviously everything that happened, but I feel like you, me, like everybody that we know,
I know a lot of
people.
Yeah.
2020 was a year of growth. It was a year of sitting in discomfort. Yeah. I mean, it was a catalyst in, I think, a lot of people's lives, because not a whole lot of people were happy, and they definitely were not happy in the beginning of quarantine.
For sure.
That was a little traumatic.
Yeah. And the interesting thing was, it seems like it was like the push that a lot of people our generation needed, like to kind of become who they were instead, and shed the ideas from before and the ideas that their parents instilled in them of who they needed to be. So it just seemed, I got one buddy who him and his girl hopped in a van, and they've been traveling the country, and he lost his job, and they hopped in a van, decided to travel the country, and he still doesn't have a job, and they're just running around the country with whatever he had saved.
Yeah, good for them.
And I was just like, and this was a guy who would have never done that. He was working in his home city, and he probably would have been in his home city for at least a little bit longer. But he was like, well, let's go do this. I don't have anything else to lose. So I was like, that is inspiring. Like, and I haven't even told him that, but it is like for someone to just lean on, like, for someone to just lean on themselves and say,
we have a podcast. He'll hear it now.
I'll tag him in this part. But for someone to lean into themselves and say, hey, it's okay to not have a job. Let's go enjoy the world. Yeah. That's a lot. That's heavy.
Well, it is heavy. And like, you know, that's really lucky, because I know that a lot of people did have a hard time, especially financially last year and this year. I mean, even with Tony having a fantastic job, when Sophie was sick and was positive with COVID, we were both out of work for 4 weeks. And so it just kind of like, you know, it was hard. It was not fun. And I can't even imagine other families that weren't able to have that, you know, that little nest egg.
For sure.
So, but even then, I think a lot of us realized how fast we were going, how fast we were used to going 24/7. It was, we have to be here. We have to do, I mean, I'm the queen of that. I was the queen of shoving my calendar full because I didn't want to pay attention to everything that was going on inside my brain and, you know, my life.
For sure.
And a lot of people don't think about it like that. A lot of people think, you know, oh, well, life is supposed to be this way. We're supposed to be this busy. And that's not true. True. We literally are built on a foundation that going is necessary. Like, it is vital to life. If you're not constantly staying busy, then who are you and what are you? Yep. And it shouldn't be like that.
It's the hustle thing.
Yeah, it is. It is the hustle thing.
The early bird gets the worm. Staying up. What is it? All-nighters, all that type of stuff. So
all-nighters, and then get back up at 6 a.m. I like to think that that's possible.
No, it's not. Not at all.
I'll tell you it's not.
So so you give me 2 positives from last year. I'll give you 2 positives, and then we'll give a goal for both of us, and then we'll say a goal for wisdom at the end.
Okay.
All right. So do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I think we should hop off of our live
Probably
because we want y'all to listen to this episode and not get all the information.
So thank you guys. We'll see you guys later.
We love you very much. Oh, it says, hold on. It says right here, I went to college and I am in the corporate world, and I still think this podcast and that intro are amazing and relevant to me. Thank you, Alicia. Emma said, I think that their content relates to everyone regardless. I'm also in the corporate world, LOL, but we all still have creative passions and pursuits, and they're genius and so funny. Ah, we love you.
We appreciate you guys.
Yay. Okay, so we're signing off. We love you guys. Thank you for showing up.
Love you. Okay, I will go first. So 2 positives of last year. The first positive was actually being like lockdown wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
I'm a hermit, so I kind of love
that's
that
what
part.
I'm the same way. It was great. Everybody had to sit down. Like if you needed to do things, then like you had to do them in a way that kind of leaned towards the way that I want them to be done, like picking up groceries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like you had to go pick them up and like not really go in the store. Love it. So we get our groceries delivered now and we pay for it and don't care because I'll never go back.
Mm-hmm.
So one positive was definitely getting to spend so much time at home. Even when I had my job back in March through July, just getting to be home and work that job when before I didn't. Like I had to be in an office. So getting to be home, see Cass every day, see Alex every day, like actually get to like kick it with them in between time that I would have never gotten to do. I hated warming up breakfast at work. And I got to cook my breakfast fresh every morning because you try to warm up eggs and they just get like soggy. It's gross. So that's probably the biggest positive was just getting to hang out with my family and like actually be in a room over. Like, and that's what I was like, I don't know if I can go back. I had plans if they went back to the office to tell my boss, like to talk to my manager and be like, I need 3 days at home or 2 days at home. Like, cause I won't be able to, I'll be more efficient if I can work from home. It was what was my thing was going to be because we loved it so much. So that's one positive. I'll definitely say the second positive was doing that work at home was also allowing me to do more design. So I was getting to fall in love with design and actually like get to like do the actual work. I had so many projects going on. I think I had a board of like 9 going on at the same time. Not good because I probably should have charged more because there's no way one person should have 9 projects going on at one time. So that's one note, but it was like great to actually like, man, I think I can do this. Like, I think I could feed my family doing this stuff. Like it was just great to like, I had people coming back. I had people like recommending me. It was like really going. And I was like, it was like the start of the fuse. Like someone lit my fuse at that point. And it was just like, this is how life needs to be. It really, really ruined corporate America for me. It really ruined my life. Like being at home and being in lockdown.
That'll be on episode
really
11.
How COVID ruined my life. The positive side.
The positive side.
So those are probably my 2 positives. I would say a goal for this year, though. A negative that came out of all of that is when you lose your job, you kind of get this unrealistic clock going. It's like, oh, you better make money. So I came up with all these ideas that I need to do. Start a podcast. I was trying to make and sell a candle, which where did that come from? Find more clients. I was trying to do my own teaching content. I was trying to do all this stuff at the same time. And I will tell you, I dropped 2/3 of that. So now I just do power and I do this podcast because I felt like they had the most value and the most way for me to break through early and actually like, so this year for me is just, the goal is to cultivate. So we're going to spend time with inside of power, building it out the right way, create some tight processes so people flow right through. They create some learning and education so people understand what I'm doing. Because I think that's another hurdle that us as creatives go through is trying to get people to understand what we're even doing. I was doing like illustrations before and people liked them or whatever, but I don't feel like they understood what I was doing. Like in that I could do it for them. So now that I'm doing branding and like identity design, I want people to understand what this is, why it's important to them, why they should show up, why they should support me, why they should work with me. Like, I just want that all to be like in there and in there in a way that where it's like subtle. So that takes work. That's not something that just happens overnight. And then with wisdom, I'm going to build out wisdom. So it's like a big space where people can come in here and feel comfortable and kick their feet up and have to and be on their lunch break and be scrolling through and see a wisdom post and get some goodness out of it. Like give them some things to make their day better and get a conversation going that they wouldn't normally get in the middle of the day. So that's basically my 2 goals for that. And just to grow. Like you always use plants, and I think plants are a great way to see it, because you plant the seed, you might not get the fruit the next day, but you just have to keep watering it, keep feeding it, and it'll grow. So this year's about watering and growing.
Oh,
that was good. That was
How am I supposed to follow that? That was awesome. Okay. That was great. Holy cow. Okay, so what was it? 2 positives from last year?
2 positives from last year and a goal.
Okay. So my 2 positives from last year, my first one, honestly, was being able to learn more about myself. I got very, very sick mentally when COVID happened. Germs are a very big trigger for me. Mm-hmm. And COVID took off, and it was like, I mean, it was everybody's worst nightmare, but inside somebody's brain that's not doing well, it was just like, I could literally see germs like crawling on my skin. Like it sounds insane. It felt insane, but that was how my brain worked. And so I feel like because of COVID, I was forced to stop and sit and be uncomfortable and figure out what was going on up here, what was going on in my head, what was going on in my life that was making me, why was I spread so thin without even realizing it? And I mean, I found the love for yoga. I found a love for taking care of myself. That was something that I've never put time or effort into. And I realized it was like my self-awareness came from 2020. So I would have to say that my first positive was that I took control of my mental health, and I stopped letting it, run my life the best that I could. And the best thing about it is I'm still going to have those weeks where I'm healing, I'm still going to have down weeks, I should say. But I have the tools now to get up faster than before, because before, whenever I would get sick, I would be down for like months. I mean, because I was constantly, it was like, I would not leave any space for myself. It was shooting, editing, traveling, like just back to back to back to back. So, when I had to stop all that, I sat there and I was like, wait, I would do all of that stuff, and I would be down for months at a time because I was just so overwhelmed and I didn't know what was going on. And then now I will get sick, because that's my brain. I will get sick. Yep. But now I am able to say, okay, what can I do to help myself? What do I need to do? If I'm having a hard time today, what are the things that I'm going to be able to do to get me further in my healing than before? So that was like my big one.
That's good though.
Yay.
Yes.
And my second one was definitely, learning how to be a better parent. That was huge. That was hard. Parenting in quarantine. The very beginning of that was rough. Like, because Sophie was going to school full time, and once COVID happened and everything shut down, and it was 3 adults and a toddler, in a apartment. It was very hard to figure out how to help myself, how to help her, and us not be so stressed out. I mean, they make the joke all the time about how this generation is going to be raised by day drinkers. homeschooled
so
by day
funny.
drinkers. And I'm like, oh gosh, it's, I remember having a few of those hard seltzer waters during the day when quarantine first happened. But no, in all seriousness, it was very hard to learn how to be a parent. So I basically had to parent myself in order to parent her. And I still struggle. There's still some days where, you know what, if you're a stay-at-home mom full time, bless you. Like
with more than one kid. Like some of them have
with more than one kid, but like even before quarantine, like that is extremely hard. I mean, parenting is hard. Don't get me wrong. I love my child. I love my child to death. I will fight anybody for my child. I will kill you. Anyway, but learning how to be patient and kind and calm when you're trying not to internally freak out about the world being on fire. You know, that is a true act of discipline.
100%. Yes.
It really
it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. Like, and I saw a lot of parents trying to get their kids back in school very early, because I'm sure that pressure got to be a lot. Especially if you have more than one child. Like I think if there's anything we've learned from 2020, it's that and especially in general, I mean, parenting, there's always going to be people you're doing this wrong, or there's always going to be other parents judging other parents. And I think if anything, 2020 should have brought all those parents together. For sure.
And I feel like it did, because I have a very small, close-knit group of parents that I know that I can depend on, and they can depend on me when it comes down to, you know, somebody needing to take care of their kid or me needing help with my child. And, you know, babysitting's kind of hard to manage during quarantine. It's like, you know, everybody's supposed to be separated and stuff, but people still have to work. It's a very confusing, hard thing. That's a different story. That's a whole nother path, because we didn't get what we needed in quarantine, and let's just say no, not at all. Absolutely not.
And there should have been some things that were given out to help keep people at home, to make sure everybody was safe. But there was this disparity between the people who had money and the people who didn't. People who didn't had to go to work, and they had to be your grocer and be the person giving you your groceries, because they had to be there. But everybody else who wasn't got to stay at home and work from home and all this. Because we're always like, a lot of people are like, well, people are working from home, right? And I'm sure if you looked at the percentage of people working from home, it's not very many.
No.
It's like the top maybe 20-30%, maybe. Everybody else had to go to a job and keep going. So everybody else is basically essential workers. Like, exactly. When I worked in the food industry, we were considered essential workers, which, I mean, it kind of blew my mind, because I didn't think that fast food was considered essential. But then I think from the other side of me being a tired parent who literally worked 8 hours away from my kids, having to come home and not wanting to make dinner, like, that's true. Because you're exhausted. I mean, so there's so many different facets of everything. And that's why everybody just needs to be kind and like stop judging other people. Like, that's but it's that's
true.
why I wanted to go ahead and give the opinion, because that's true. Like, everybody had to do what they had to do. So
to survive. Exactly. And unfortunately, we are we considered middle class? I mean, we're like middle class society.
I guess, I don't know.
You're right. We had to do what we had to do in order to get through 2020. And so my second one was definitely learning how to reparent in quarantine. That was fun. And then my goal for this year is pretty much aligned with yours, as far as just getting into the insides of my business and just cultivating, because I have French press, I have my family sessions, and then I have wisdom. So I'm trying to figure out, especially since like branding is my biggest love, I'm trying to figure out how to bring Unruly Blooms in and it support what I'm trying to do and not take away from the things that I already have going. So I think it works. I mean, and that's why I kept wisdom, because it fits with what
my other business does. I feel like Unruly Blooms does also do that. So you just have to have a way to like slide it in there so that it kind of works. And maybe it could be an umbrella company that you house everything else up under. Because
and that's what I'm thinking.
When you're doing brand stuff, you can still, you can take pictures for people, take pictures for people's website. It's just a different leg of kind of what's going on.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's like, because I love my family sessions. I'm never going to get rid of my family sessions. And with Unruly Blooms, it is photography, but it's also almost like counseling for those business women that are involved. And they need to know what they need help with as far as their branding goes. So I think that my main goal for this year is to just get on the inside, making sure that all of my systems are in place for my business to run smoothly. And that way, even if there is a problem, it won't be a problem because again, I'll have the tools.
Yes, 100%.
So yeah, that is definitely my goal for this year. I want everything to work for me. I'm tired of having to feel like I need to book 1,000 sessions in a weekend because I need the support financially. And that's when I usually get behind is because I'm like, okay, money's really tight right now. So let's go ahead and book, whatever we need to do to get here to this goal. But then that's when people start drowning and I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to stay out of that toxic.
It's a toxic place to be in. And like, cause you got to live, like how else are you supposed to live? So, but you can make your business work for you in the ways of the biggest one, raising your prices and working with the right clients who will support you and come back for more. So there's two things right there.
That, and I get so excited, that anytime I get so excited. Anytime there's like a new project, I'm like, I want to do it. I want to do projects for everyone. And then I sit and go, okay, my project tracker is overflowing on this board right here. And this looks disgusting.
And you want to know what? I have that same problem, but you want to know what I've had to do? Because I went through that whole where I expanded everything, did so much. I just started putting them in like on a notepad. And I was like, because I noticed that the good ones I always revisit. So I was like, if I put them on a notepad, then I can always come back to this, but I probably shouldn't disrupt what I have going on by throwing in some new off the wall idea that might never work just because I'm excited. So I can be excited in the moment. Oh, that could be a cool idea. And then I just go write it down and then I'll come back to it. Because if it's a good idea, it will still be there in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever. So
but mine comes from and I agree with you 1,000%. Mine also comes from when people contact me, I have a hard time telling them no, or giving them a reasonable deadline. That's usually where I get into like my biggest problems is
you stack it all.
Because people, I have a large network. Everybody comes to me. Hey, I need a business card. Hey, I need a flyer. Hey, I need this. And it's like, oh yeah, I can help you with that. Oh yeah, I can help you with that. But then it goes, wait, but I have these 15 other projects. I can't help you with that. I have to learn how to say no. That's my biggest.
And the other thing that I'm trying to do is build a network of when that does happen, have someone already in the reserves that I can pass them off to.
Because
that's how you really grow the community. Because then you now have someone else who got a gift and they didn't do anything for it. But now if someone came to them and they can't handle it, they might shoot it to you. So now you're working in a network instead of working by yourself.
True. That's true. Yeah. So, then maybe I'm just going to write down all the things in my business that I could use additional help with and just find team members.
That's what I'm working on. I'm working on in 2 to 3 years. I want an apprentice. I want someone who's young, Black, felt like they had to do something else with their life. And I want to give them a laptop and Adobe, and we're going to learn. We're going to go for it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'll give you a laptop and I'll give you however long subscription to Adobe, and I'll pay for it. And we're going to go. And you're going to learn how to do whatever you need to do. So, but the person just has to have the right attitude. They don't have to know anything. I'll teach them what I know. But
and that's the thing. You have to, the only difference between people who are, it's not even like, yes, talent goes a long way, obviously, like not taking that away from anybody, but there's a difference between people who actually do things and the people who don't. Yes. It's the follow through. Honestly, it's the freaking follow through. And that's the one thing that I struggle with is because I pile on my plate and then my follow through is over here looking sad. And I'm like, no.
But it's because do you ever feel, I know for me, I don't finish things because I'm afraid of the final project and presenting the final project. So I try to avoid that. So because I feel like I'm going to let people down. So I try to hold off. And then if I wait long enough,
it's not perfect yet. It's not perfect yet.
So, but I'm finding that if I lock myself in a room, actually like go with the right inputs,
right,
and try to go to, I finish. I have to finish things.
Yes.
Else they will never get done. So the goal is always to finish. And finish might mean having it all the way broken down to where it's ready to post. There's no other parts left.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. There are various steps to that. I had a thought and then it left my brain.
That's my fault.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. Okay, the thing with the podcast is we constantly have like conversations, so that's what we're supposed to do. Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. But yes, you're excited. You should be excited. You're correct. Yeah. I don't know if I do have a hard time with the perfection. I also have a hard time with getting overwhelmed. I think of everything instead of taking out pieces. And what I've been working on really hard this year is taking the giant projects and breaking it down and saying, okay.
So you have checkpoints.
I have to do checkpoints. Yeah. It's just like I had to start scheduling out my days because I literally made a schedule for being at home. I know that sounds weird, but it gives me a guideline and it gives me a structure to go, okay, during this time and this time, I need to be checking emails. During this time and this time, I need to be, working with Sophia on her workbooks. And then, so I have that whole schedule lined out. And I'm just trying to get into that routine. So I'm trying to do the same thing with all of my projects. It's just great. They just get so big that I look at them and I'm like,
especially when you start talking about branding, like, because you want to do unruly blooms. It's huge. There's a lot of touch points. Huge. Like, yeah. Because that's what I like when I switch from just thinking in logo speak. So like, I'll make you a logo to branding. Oh, it's massive. Like there's a lot of checkpoints. There's a lot of things you have to like download and spit out. So I just make lists and then literally check things off. Because it makes me feel like I'm making progress when I check things out. Yes, so. Absolutely. That's why I started like I designed this project tracker, and I'm attempting to make it to where it's like a reusable, rewritable. Like I'm literally I designed it, and I'm gonna try to send it in and see if I can get it like printed type of deal. Perfect.
So and that's one of my big giant harebrained projects.
You should share it.
I will share it.
You should share it.
If people want it, I will share it.
You're going to share it because you thought of it and it's smart and you're smart and you should share it.
Thank you. I will. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will share it. Okay. But it really has helped because I took my entire photography process and I'm going to have it for different types of, for graphic design, photography, different styles of project tracking. But I took it and I basically broke it down into categories and said, okay, as soon as I get home, this is what I need to do. I need to upload my cards. I need to back up, the sessions. So that's exactly what my project tracker is it's breaking down those giant projects. So I'm just trying to do one for my graphic design stuff too, because I feel like I'm in new territory, even though I've been doing it for a really long time, but I haven't been doing it long enough to know the process in and out.
Got you.
So I'm trying to learn more. I'm trying to learn more. So I've been YouTubing and reading, and I am
the gifts, God's gifts.
I'm getting it done.
All right. So our goal for wisdom. What's what's one goal you have for wisdom?
Our goal for wisdom?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I have so many goals for wisdom. I know. Like wisdom by design is just our little.
I would say choose the juiciest one, or the one that might take
the juiciest one.
Yeah.
My goal for wisdom is to be by the end of the year, I want us to have. I don't know how. I don't know if you want me to say it.
If it's there, say it. Say it.
Okay,
We're here with the people.
By the end of the year, I would love for us to be able to have regular coaching calls with the people who need them. Like, I would love for us to have a community built up that, whenever people need to talk to us, we can literally sit down and say, okay, hey, what's going on? Like, what can we help you with type of deal? Like, that's where I want to see.
And I'm right there with you. I feel like that'd be great. And even to just like meet people, like I'd be down to hear about people's ideas and people's businesses and like people, their creativity and like what they want to do with it. I would love just to do that. Like, yeah,
absolutely. I would really love for us to start bringing more people in. I think that's like our next step is just to start bringing in new people to talk with us and have conversations with that definitely need to be talked about. I think my heart is like, when I think of that.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely like that. I think that'd be fun. What
is your goal? Yeah.
So my goal is definitely to, I feel like I want to have us exposed to more people. So I would love to see us at a grand